Today, we're meeting with a very interesting man, Bob Akmenkalns, who works for Adams 12 School District. But he's done a number of things in his life, but we've chosen to visit with him today as part of our Local Heroes series because he's gone above and beyond, as have some of his teammates in the transportation department at Adams 12. But we're very happy to have you with us today, Bob. So please introduce yourself. Tell us a little bit about yourself.
My name is Bob Akmenkalns, and again, I'm just so honored to be part of this and humbled to be part of this, because the transportation department is filled with people that have gone above and beyond, probably even more so than myself and others at least equally. And you know, they're all trying to make it work. These are challenging times, but we are trying to do the best we can to make the best of a bad situation. So I'm proud to be here to represent transportation, and am humbled by that, and take that with a grain of salt as we continue through this interview. But well, basically, yes, sir.
Why don't you go ahead and tell us a little bit about your background? I mean, originally you're from Germany, so why don't you just kind of give us a little bit of your background?
Okay. Basically, I was born in Germany. Mom and dad and 4 kids immigrated to the United States. I was the youngest. I got lucky. I was 4 years old, so I didn't have to jump right into the school system. My oldest brother went into high school, my sister into junior high, and my other brother into elementary. And so they had to go in cold turkey without speaking any English. So I know that was challenging. Mom and dad didn't speak any English, but you know what? We made it, and it was a good move to come to this wonderful country. So we came here. I went through the entire school system here in Colorado, K through 12, in Colorado Springs. That's where we immigrated to. So I went through the entire school system down there, school district 11. And after graduation, I worked for a little bit, and then decided to enlist in the Marine Corps. And that was in part due to me always growing up and saying I was going to go into the military and serve as basically paying the debt for allowing my family to come to this country. And I thought, well, as long as I'm going to go into the service, I'm going to go into best. And I'm sure there will be others that will dispute me on that, but I went into the Marine Corps. So after the Marine Corps, came back to beautiful Colorado, loved it here, loved the people, love everything about the state. So I came back here, looked for a job, and hired on with a manufacturing corporation, and actually worked for them, starting out as a trainee and working my way through the ranks and learning the business, and actually ended up being vice president of operations. And after 41.5 years, I left that company, and I was certainly not ready for the green pastures of retirement, not here on earth or elsewhere. So I wanted to stay active and do something. And I'd always told my wife that when I do retire, if and when I retire, that I would like to do volunteer work with kids, because I like being around kids. And it just so happens that my sister-in-law is a trainer at Adams 12, and she said, well, we're in need of drivers. And I think the way she put it was, we're in desperate need. And so I said, well, you'd even hire me then. And she said, no, seriously, we need drivers. And I looked at it and I said, well, I like to get up early in the morning. I love to drive, and I like being around kids. And so my wife said, go for it, you know, give it a shot. So here I am. I'm a bus driver for Adams 12.
When did you start being a bus driver? How long ago?
Well, next month will be 4 years that I'm with Adams 12 as a bus driver.
Tell us a little bit about how being a bus driver changed as we went into this pandemic. What were some of the things that you were called on to do that you hadn't been doing before?
Well, in essence, none of us were really called on. It was put out there and saying we need some volunteers, and we're a pretty big group there, and you know, it was left up to individuals if they wanted to give it a shot or not. So the first thing that came up was drive-through food distribution, and there were several sites throughout the district that were set up that the food service people would get the food ready, and then it would be the team would go in and would pack it into bags and load it up and haul it back into the kitchen area, and then we would set up outside, and then it was pretty much a drive-through food distribution for people in the district. And sad to say, you know, a lot of people didn't have jobs. You know, things were shut down, so they couldn't work, and you know, times are kind of tough. So that food was provided, and thank goodness the district did that. But we had a lot of people driving through at the location I was at, which was Legacy High School, and I can't say enough about those people there. I mean, they were fabulous. They had it running like clockwork, and you know, those of us that were volunteers there, again, from transportation when it was our time to do that, all we had to do was basically make sure that it got into the vehicles and all of that, and you know, checking the counts and doing all of that. But we received a lot of compliments from the people driving through about how good the food was, and you know, thank you so much for doing this. And so I had to tell them, we're just the delivery end of things, that where the real hard work takes place is inside the school, within the kitchen area. So I did make it a point to thank the people that work in the food distribution in there, that, hey guys, we're getting all these compliments, and I let them all know, you guys are the ones doing it. They just don't have your face out front. It happens to be us.
So is the distribution system still ongoing, or has it changed, or how is that going?
Well, currently not. We just finished up with some mobile food distribution where it was loaded into the smaller buses, and then we would go to various sites throughout the district and set up table and, you know, have all the food in there, and people could come to those mobile sites basically and pick up some sustenance. So that part just ended, and we went back to sort of taking students into classes. They're doing some testing with the students and that, so it's very limited on the routes and the number of students that we're taking in right now. But that mobile distribution has ended at this time. And
Okay.
next week, thank goodness, we're going to start up again. In-person learning, and the routes should all be there, and everything should work.
So you'll start driving us again for your kids, for the students.
Yes, yes, and actually, I'm driving now. I'm just doing you know, 1 or 2 kids during the day to get them in for their testing, middle school and elementary. And so anyway, after the drive-through food distribution, then also, since everyone went to remote learning, a lot of the students didn't have Chromebooks, didn't have the capability in their houses to log in. So we did Chromebook distributions, and we went around in vans. You know, each of us had our own van and our own set of Chromebooks and addresses to go to. And so we delivered the Chromebooks to the students and got them all set up. And once that finished up and came to a conclusion, then the district also started up some learning pods. And the learning pods basically were sort of in person, but not. They were the students were in school, in classrooms, but the teachers were remote. So that would allow parents to go to work. That afforded them the opportunity to not leave their child at home and try to go to work and not knowing if the students logged in and doing what they need to do. So I was at Westlake Middle School and happened to have a 7th grade pod, and it was enormously joyful working with those students and keeping them on task, and them keeping me on task. It was actually a very fun experience. It was kind of like being in a bus, but not having to worry about any traffic. So that end of it was good. And After that, that's when the mobile distribution started up, and of course now we're into taking in students for testing and things like that, and looking forward to next week.
Well, it sounds to me like you've been driving, you've been in food service, you've been in tech, and you've been a teacher as part of all these activities during this pandemic, and kind of
Well, I guess I didn't get paid enough. What's going on with that?
it sounds to me like you enjoyed it. So talk to me about some of the kids that were in your pod that made the whole experience so joyful for you.
Well, being on a bus, doing the bus routes, you have, even though it might be elementary, you have a real mix of ages within the bus, and of course you have them for a short period of time before you drop them off at the school. So there's not a lot of interaction that can take place. There's some, but not a lot. And I really enjoyed the fact that in the pods, number one, I had a 7th grade, so they were all of the same age group. So all my bad dad jokes were geared towards 7th graders. I didn't have to worry about, kindergartners or 1st graders looking at me and saying, I don't get it. Of course, some of my jokes, even the 7th graders don't get it. Again, dad jokes. But it was nice having a group that was all of the same age. And we did have downtime, scheduled downtime during the day when they were not in their virtual classes. And so we had a lot of discussions. And to me, that was really rewarding. And, giving them the perspective of a more seasoned individual and having lived life and what is and what isn't. And trying to direct them away from, their phones and their devices and their gaming and all of that, there is a real world out there that there's adventure and excitement, and it's all real. And, getting it off your cell phone or a computer just isn't the same. And you should get out there and experience that and really be a part of the world instead of, having your nose stuck in something like that. So we had a lot of interaction with that. We discussed a lot about where the kids were from, maybe their ancestry, anything they may know about that, getting them to speak up in class. And even though I didn't tell them to stand up and come up where I was, by golly, they all did. And I thought, well, I'm not telling them you don't have to. And I could certainly tell a lot of them were nervous to do that and talk about themselves. But, that's what life is all about. I tell them you've got to do the things that make you uncomfortable sometimes and stretch your horizon a little bit and realize that even though you're nervous, you can do things like that. So we did a lot of talking about, again, who would you like to be when you grow up? And of course I'd get names of people. And I said, no. I'm not talking about who as an individual, but who do you want to be as far as the kind of person you are? Do you want to be a friendly person, a happy person, somebody that people want to be around, or do you want to be somebody that everybody avoids? Because the time to look at that is now, and to be acting like that now. And if you want to be a good person, do good things, be nice to people and talk nice to people and be firm and just get out there and experience, basically. So there were, and those are just a couple of examples, but we went through a lot of that. I with my German background, I belong to an organization that we perform Bavarian folk dances, German folk dances, music and whips and everything else. So I promised them that one day I would come in my full traditional clothing, and I did that. I came in one day and I was top to bottom, head to toe dressed, explained where it was from, what each of the items meant, and then I actually performed a Schuhplattler dance for them, and about killed me. I was definitely out of breath because I was wearing my mask, and it was unusual to be wearing my mask and doing that. But
did anybody video you performing for them?
Oh, they did. The dean, and this was at Westlake Middle School, the dean came in, because obviously he saw me in the morning, and so he kind of looked, and I'd asked permission because you shouldn't be wearing a hat when you're in classes and stuff like that. And so I told him, well, I'm going to be breaking a rule when I come in. And he said, oh, that's fine. So when he saw me that day, he said, okay, what time are you going to do it? And it was one of our open times. So he came in and filmed it. And I said, well, I'm going to do something that is, again, against district policy. If you students want to film this as well, please feel free, because again, they're not supposed to be taking pictures and videoing and all of that in the classrooms and on the bus and all of that. So I guess I broke another rule, and here I am confessing all of this to you, and I'll probably be turned in and terminated for all of that. But no, I gave them the okay to do that.
You don't need to worry about it. We're just going to publicize this to probably 100,000 people. So it's the, you know,
of my closest friends.
Well,
so
no, Bob, how big was the pod? How many kids in your pod?
I had it fluctuated from day to day depending on who showed up, but I had about 12 kids.
Okay. And
you know, on average about 12.
Were other of your colleagues from other drivers handling pods as well?
Oh, definitely. At Westlake itself, there were two other drivers that were there one was in a pod, and the other gentleman actually came around to each and every pod to relieve us so we could go to the bathroom and then come back and, you know, take over the class again. So yes, there were multiple schools that had drivers and assistants. You know, our assistants, you know, we keep talking about drivers, but boy, if you're a driver and you have a route that needs an assistant, you get a good assistant, they are worth their weight in gold. Trust me, they are excellent to have on board. It takes a lot off of our minds, you know, the way we see it, and as far as drivers are concerned, the parents entrust us with the most valuable thing they have, and that is their kids. And here we are, they put them on this bus and we take off. And not only, again, the different age groups that might be within the bus itself, you know, we have to keep some sort of order and keeping them safe, and especially now, safe and sound. But we're out on the roads. We all know what the roads are like. So we're having to drive and manage traffic and manage students that might be on the bus. And that's in good weather. So you throw in icy, snowy weather, that is a big responsibility that the parents entrusted us with. And believe me, the drivers and the assistants take that extremely seriously. That is beyond pale how serious we take that. And we love our kids. The minute their foot hits that door of the bus, they're my kid. They're not some other person's kids. And you know, everything from the maintenance crew that keeps our fleet maintained to where it's safe and reliable to be on the streets, our scheduling department, which has been pulling out their hair, trying to make all of this work and get all the routes together, our dispatch people that, you know, on a day-to-day basis have to communicate with the drivers, with parents, with schools, and juggle all of that with all these routes going on. Our trainers who teach us how to be safe and all the things we need to know to be able to operate the bus in a safe and efficient manner. And
so as the school district kind of returns to a more normal approach to things in the next week or two, will you be returning to one of your routes, or how's that going to go?
Yes, absolutely. I'll be back driving route for McElwain Elementary and also Thornton Middle School. Those are the two that I have. One of the other things I did during this time, sort of semi-remote and not, I did help out at McElwain Elementary. I helped out with the two of the kindergarten classes and a third grade class and fifth grade classes. And so I really like interacting with the kids and seeing the little light bulbs come on. And so truly it's been a joy. It has been a joy. And we can't wait to get back. That's all the buzz at work, that everybody's excited about getting back to some sort of normal.
Bob Akmenkalns, you know, you've been doing a lot since you retired and then in effect unretired to help the kids in the school district in Adams 12. I mean, thank you so much for taking the energy that you have and the experience that you have and the love of people and the love of our country to help these kids and to, in my opinion, go above and beyond. And I know a lot of your teammates did the same thing. And I'm just thankful to all of you for helping the kids up in Adams County in Adams 12 and for helping the community. So I'm going to let you close it, and it'll be good for all of you to return to something that's much more near normal. Still not going to be quite normal as we work our way out of this pandemic, but we are doing that. And I think over the course of the next few months, things are going to continue to return to something that we all remember, but it'll be a little bit different. But I want you to close, and I just, again, want to thank you for being part of our Local Heroes series.
Well, thank you for inviting me here today, Representative Perlmutter. And again, I'm humbled by this, and I really want to tout all the people that I work with. As I said before, being in the Marine Corps, the esprit de corps is bar none is top notch, but the camaraderie that I see within the transportation department is just superb. Everyone goes out of their way to help one another. We all commiserate when we need to, and we all step up when we need to and